Dear students, this is our fourth recorded lecture of Money and Banking course. And in this lecture, we will start a new chapter, which is chapter 3. So today we will discuss chapter 3, which is entitled as What is Money? So what are the learning outcomes of this chapter? At the end of this chapter, you are expected to be aware of the meaning of money and the difference between money, currency, income, and wealth. Also, you are expected to know the main functions of money or the role of money in the society. So this means that we will talk about how money is used as a way of payment and how it is used to measure the value of different things, and also how it is used to save the purchasing power from one time into another time. This chapter also discusses the evolution of the payment system. So we will talk about the different forms of money from the historical forms in the primitive societies to the most recent financial innovations that serve as money. And at the end of this chapter, we will explain the different measures of money and the possibility of moving to a cashless society. The first point in this lecture is the definition of money and the distinction between money, currency, income, and wealth. Basically, there is no single or precise definition of money or the money supply, and most of people mix between some terminologies such as money, currency, income, and wealth. Usually, when we mention the word money, most people think of currency. However, money and currency are different concepts, as currency is considered as just one type of money, and currency consists of banknotes and coins. So, for economists, equating money with currency is too much narrow. This is because many other items can be used as a way of payments. For example, checks are also accepted as a way of payments for our purchases, so we can consider them as money. So this means that checkable deposits accounts are considered money. But we even need a broader definition of money, since other items such as saving deposits can be used to pay for our purchases if they can quickly and easily convert it into currency or checkable deposits. So, based on that, we can define money or money supply as anything that is generally accepted in the payments for goods and services or in the repayments of debts. Now, let's discuss the difference between money and wealth, because many people use them with the same meaning. For example, we can say that Ahmed is rich. He has lots of money. In this situation, we don't mean that Ahmed has lots of currency, but we mean that he has currency and he may also have bank deposits, he may have some bonds and stocks, or even he may have 2 cars or 4 houses. This means that we used the word money to refer to his wealth. So, economists usually distinguish between money, as explained before, as a way of payment, and the word wealth, where wealth is much broader than money because it includes the total collection of pieces of property such as bonds, common stocks, arts, land, furniture, and any other assets that can serve as a store of value or a store of wealth. Now, what is the difference between money and income? Many people use the word money to mean income as well. To explain this, let's consider the following example. If we say that Ahmed started a new job, but he gets little money. Here we use the word money to refer to his income from his new job. But what is the problem here? Usually, economists use the word income to describe a flow of earnings per unit of time. So we should attach a time here. For example, we may say that Ahmed earns £2,000 per week. So here we tied the earnings to the time period during which he receives this income. On the other hand, money is a stock concept, which means that it should be measured as a certain amount at a given point of time. So if someone tells you that he has £1,000, this means that we exactly know how much he has now at this point or at this time. But if another person tells us that he has an income of £1,000, so in this case, we cannot say if he earned lots or a little money without knowing the time period at which he received this income. So, if now the same person tells us that he got this £1,000 per month, so here in this case, we can say that his income is very low. But if he tells us that he get £1,000 per day, so here we can say that his income he is big or he got a good income. So as we have seen, there is difference between the words money, currency, income, and wealth. So when we use the word money in this course, here we are using the word money to express or to refer to anything that is generally accepted in payments for goods and services or in the repayment of debts, which is different from income, wealth, and currency as I have explained. Um, Now let's move to the second point of this lecture, which is the main functions of money. Generally, money has three major functions, which are it should be used as a medium of exchange or as a way of payment. And basically, this function is what distinguishes money from other assets such as stocks, bonds, and houses. Second function is that money is used to measure the value of different things, or we can say that it serves as a unit of account. Uh, the third the third function is that we use money to store the value or to store the wealth, which means that it will keep the purchasing power of money from one time into another time. As I said, the first function of money is the medium of exchange, which means that money is used to pay for our purchases of goods and services, where this function is highly important in promoting economic efficiency, given that it could minimize the transaction cost. What is transaction cost? It's the time spent in exchanging goods and services. To clarify the idea of using money as a medium of exchange, let's try to answer this question. What if there is no money? So now let's try to imagine a society without no money. In this case, we will need to exchange goods and services directly with other goods and services, and this society is known as barter economy. So now let's see the difficulties that will arise in such a society. To explain the difficulty of good exchanges in a barter economy, let's make this example. Assume that there is a person who is good at one thing, which is giving economic lecture, and he is hungry and wants some bread. If there is no money, as we have assumed, then he needs to find another person who have bread and also must need to exchange bread for economic lecture. Otherwise, the transaction will not take place. In this case, as we may expect, this search for the bread owner who wants some economic lectures will be difficult and also time consuming. So when the time increases, this means that the transaction cost will be very high. The reason behind that is that people has to find someone who has a good or a service they want and also wants the good or the service they offer. This difficulty of a barter economy is known as double coincidence of wants. This situation will be even worse if the bread owner doesn't want to exchange bread for economic lecture. For example, assume that the bread owner wants to exchange it for another commodity such as bananas. So let's see if there will be any trade take place in this economy and how the introduction of money into the economy can be beneficial to different people living in this society. Now let's see what happens if the bread owner wants to exchange it for bananas, not for economic lectures. In this case, the transaction may be done but by doing two steps. In the first step, as shown in the left, the economic professor has to find someone who has bananas and wants to exchange it for an economic lecture. After that, he will take the bananas and exchange it for bread in step number 2. So as we have seen, it would be time consuming and the situation will be even worse if the banana owner wants another commodity, not the economic lectures. And if this happens, this may lead this professor uh, quit giving economic lectures and try to produce bread by himself. Um, if we introduce money into this society, all these difficulties will be eliminated um, because this professor will explain the lecture to anyone who is interested in having his lecture, and this person will pay using money. Then the professor will use the money to buy the bread he wants. And then the bread owner can take the money and buy whatever he wants. So in this case, as we can see, the problem of double coincidence of wants is eliminated if we use the money. So the introduction of money into the society makes us avoid the difficulties of apartheid economy. Based on that, we can conclude that money can enhance economic efficiency by eliminating the trouble of finding a double coincidence of needs and by reducing transaction costs. Uh, Also, it will lead to enhancing efficiency due to specialization in the division of labor, which means that people will specialize in what they do best. In the beginning of this lecture, we define money as anything that is generally accepted as a way of payments for goods and services or in the repayments of debts. However, for a commodity to be used as money, it must satisfy the following conditions. One, it must be easily standardized, making it simple to determine its value. Two, it must be widely accepted. 3. It must be divisible, which means that it's easy to make a change. 4. It must be easy to carry, so we can move it easily from one place into another place. And 5. It mustn't deteriorate quickly. For example, we can use tomatoes as money because it will deteriorate very quickly. Later on, when we discuss the evolution of the payment system, we will talk about the different commodities that are used as a money over time. I will stop at this point, and just to sum up, in this lecture we have discussed the meaning of money and the difference between money and other related concepts such as currency, income, and wealth. And we have also explained the functions of money, and here we focused on the role of money as a medium of exchange, and we covered the difficulties associated with the barter economy. So later on we will discuss and explain um, the function of money as a unit of account and as a store of wealth. We will also continue this chapter by explaining the evolution of the payment system, and we will talk about the different types of money starting from the commodity money to the most recent forms of money, which is electronic money or e-money. Also, we will talk about the different measures of money supply and the possibility of moving to a cashless society. So goodbye for now and see you next week.